Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. Today is Monday, December 23rd. We're almost at the end of the year, and I want to extend on behalf of myself, Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, our administrative team, and I can speak for the Board of Legislators, to extend to you and your families a very Merry Christmas, and shortly thereafter, a Happy Hanukkah. That celebration begins on the same day. A joyous Kwanzaa, that begins the day after Christmas, all leading up to a very happy New Year. And in short order after that, we'll be celebrating Three Kings Day, which is important to many of our Hispanic neighbors and friends. But a very Merry Christmas at hand. We hope that you and yours have a wonderful time together as a family with friends, and a safe one as we head to what we hope will be a very good New Year 2025. This is the last of these Westchester Weekly Updates that I'm going to have the pleasure of hosting. We may have some other news to report on over the next 10 days, but this is the last formal opportunity I have to project to you what is happening in Westchester County. We began these updates, and they were actually on a daily basis, if you can remember that, during the COVID-19 outbreak that happened almost 5 years ago. It was a different world, and yet in some ways it seems like it was a couple of weeks ago. But we began the process of communicating on a regular basis, and we turned this into a weekly opportunity to talk to you about what's happening in Westchester County. We know that some of the things we talk about might be interesting enough, might get picked up by the mainstream press. Some of it is just for those of you who may watch it on Facebook or may circulate it on social media. But we wanted to have this kind of a conduit for information. We think it's been a great opportunity to let you see exactly what has happened and what is happening at a given day, and then what's happened over time here in Westchester County. And I'm going to recap a few of those issues as we go forward. Let me first start by giving you the usual update in parks. Ken Jenkins normally has that responsibility, but the next one of these Westchester updates will happen on Tuesday, January 7th, and our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, will be chairing that and the foreseeable future activities, and we'll talk a little bit about the transition in just a second. But in our parks this week, we have a couple of some very important fun activities. At Kensico Dam Plaza in Valhalla, we continue to offer Westchester's Winter Wonderland drive-through Holiday Light Extravaganza. That's from 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. each of these different nights, not counting Christmas. It is an opportunity for you to pile all the kids and all the grandparents in a car, drive through, and see really a terrific program. It's priceless memories. It's a 1.2-mile drive that takes you in and around Kensico Dam Plaza. Lots of lights, and it's $35 per car. It's rain or shine, and it's a wonderful experience. Take the kids, have a good time, and enjoy it. We have at Westchester County Center coming up this Friday, December 27th, the Westchester Knicks will have one of their regularly scheduled games. They're taking on the Motor City Cruise, and that tip-off is at 7 p.m. You can call for tickets, 995-4050, and we welcome you to see the budding basketball stars of tomorrow playing basketball today at the County Center. And then on Saturday, December 28th, at Alfred Del Bello Muscoot Farms in Somers, we have the Book Buddies program from 12 to 3. You'll be at one of the animal enclosures, and your child will get to read in a unique atmosphere. They will love it. You bring their favorite books or pick from our collection. There's a 30-minute time slot, and it's a great way just to keep the kids active during the holiday season. They're going to be around the house. They're going to have a marvelous Christmas day, hopefully opening presents and what have you, but you want to keep them active. They need something new to do every day, so put Muscoot Farm on your list for that activity. And all of our 50 parks are open for walking, hiking, wonderful use. We have the Andrew O'Rourke Trailway, which goes northern Westchester into southern Westchester. We have the Bronx River Park Pathway that you can walk through. Kensico Dam Plaza is a wonderful place to visit aside from the special events there. Ward Pound Ridge, Glen Island, they're all over the county in all different corners, and we encourage you to be able to enjoy all of those different things. Government is at a much more quiet time right now. We passed our county budget, as you know, a couple of weeks ago for the year 2025. That's in place. We've had our meeting with the bond rating agencies, which usually comes at year end. So many people now are just trying to get ready to get through to the new year, which is coming in just a few days, 9 days. I should point out that the transition for me is at hand. A week from this Thursday on January 2nd, 12:01 noon, my resignation will become effective as Westchester County Executive. That will complete 7 years and 2 days worth of service as your county executive. I want to personally thank you for that opportunity. In a week's time, I will provide a farewell address to the members of the Board of Legislators and people here in the county. That will be broadcast here on our Facebook channel, and certainly we welcome you to tune in as I try to say thank you in a more profound way and assess what some of these things are that we've tried to do here in Westchester County government. But things move forward. They never are static. And so the transition realities under the charter of Westchester County. My resignation goes into effect on January 2nd. The chair of the Board of Legislators, Vidat Gashi, will appoint an individual who's currently a department head to become acting county executive for what amounts to about 5 days, from that Thursday until Monday, January 6th. He has that appointive power until the board meets. The board meets on Monday, January 6th, and they will select officially the acting county executive who will serve as county executive with the authority for the 90-day period that begins with my resignation and expires in April. During that period of time, the board will also set the date for a special election. You, the voters, will decide who you would like to serve in this position as county executive beginning in the first quarter of next year, and that position will carry through December of next year, a one-year period. That is the remaining year on the term that I was elected to in 2021. Then throughout the course of 2025, next year, you have a normal election cycle for county executive, the 4-year term. The various major parties will nominate candidates. There's always the potential of a primary. And come November of 2025, you will vote again for county executive, this time for a 4-year term. So a special election to fill the vacancy in February, and then a second one, the normal one that comes in November. I will be sworn in as a United States Congressman for the 16th Congressional District. That takes in most of the southern half of Westchester from I-287 to the Bronx border, and a section of the Bronx, Co-op City, part of Wakefield, and Edenwald sections are part of the 16th Congressional District. And on Friday, February 3rd, I will be in Washington, D.C., and will be sworn into office as a member of the United States House of Representatives. That is a 2-year term, and I will have a ceremonial inauguration here in Westchester County on Sunday, January 26th at 3 p.m. at the Rye High School Performing Arts Center, the Rye High School Auditorium. That is free of charge. You're welcome to come for the ceremonial inauguration. I will be sworn into office officially on the 3rd, but on the 26th here in our home turf, I will have a ceremonial inauguration, and we'll have lots of people attending and speakers and all of that. I will also have a ceremonial inauguration the day before that in Co-op City for the Bronx portion of the district that I represent on the 25th, also at 3 o'clock at the Dreiser Auditorium in Co-op City. But the things that I have responsibility to do going forward, I won't have this particular forum, but I look forward to staying in touch with the people that I would represent. And I will say more about this in a week's time, but I want to thank all of those who are residents of Westchester County who will not be part of the congressional district that I represent. I've made tremendous friendships over these 7 years, worked very hard, I hope, to do things that were helpful, and I continue that relationship as we go forward, even if I don't represent you directly in the Congress of the United States. It's important to note that over these 7 years, we've had an opportunity to deal with a lot of different issues, and it bears some benefit to go through them quickly. I won't make this long and drawn out, but I think it's important to understand the sweep of things. We have different levels of government in our system, and sometimes it's tiresome to try to figure out which level of government does what. You have a road that needs to be repaved. Is that a town road? Is it a county road? Is it a federal road? Who's responsible for it? And sometimes you get the usual finger pointing where everybody points to somebody else. The county government, Westchester County government, I served 13 years here as a member of the County Board of Legislators before moving to Albany to serve as a state assemblyman and a state senator, and then come back to be county executive for 7 years. The county government is a regional local government, and it sits in a compatible method with local governments, cities, towns, and villages. Cities, towns, villages, and counties all have local responsibilities, but the county does the regional portion of those responsibilities. So the local government picks up your garbage at your front door. The county government takes the regional responsibility of sorting out the recyclables and disposing of the waste once it's collected in a regional capacity. Some functions, like incarcerating a person for having committed a crime, you can't do realistically in every single city, town, and village. There's 45 of them in Westchester County. So we have a county jail that is a regional function of corrections. We have the regional function of running the county airport. We have the regional function of running a bus system. We have 7 sewer treatment plants. That's a regional function. We are tasked by the state government and the federal government for providing public health. Every community does not have a health department. They turn to the county during COVID or doing any other kinds of necessity. The ongoing work that we do in making sure that public kitchens are clean and up to the right standards, that pools, public or private pools have the proper pH and are healthy and you can swim in them. Those are the responsibilities that fall to county government. It is also the county's responsibility to manage the social service network of programs created by the federal government and to some extent by the state government, but they turn to the county government to hire through DSS the employees necessary to deal with people who are indigent and need those services. And so all of those things together represent a host of activities of the county government. Usually you think about county government when something goes wrong or when a problem comes up in your life and you realize that it is the county government that's responsible for that. We have some outward-focused activities that people enjoy, such as our park system. We provide those. The parks are not mandated. This is part of the vision of my predecessors and members of the Board of Legislators and the Board of Supervisors that obtained and created Glen Island as a park in New Rochelle, Croton Point Park as a park with a beach in Croton on Hudson, and all across the county, these types of facilities. We also have parts of county government, departments of county government that deal with veterans affairs, issues that deal with the needs of women, programs and services that handle our waste disposal, and all across the board. So it's a complicated government. And this government has 4,200 employees. It has an annual budget of $2.5 billion. In the operating budget, we probably about another $300 million in our special districts. Some communities get water through the county, some get sewage through the county, and some are part of our refuse districts. So in its aggregate, as a local regional government, we do those things that you don't tell the village of Ardsley to do, or you don't tell the town of Lewisboro to do, or you don't tell the city of Peekskill to do. So it has its place in that mix of things. We have tried during this tenure to be a good partner to local government. That's why we invite municipal partners to come to this forum every week when we can have them here, a mayor of a village or a city or the supervisor of a town, to talk to you and tell them about their community. So you see, how does Buchanan fit in? How does Larchmont fit in? How does the town of North Salem fit into this whole of Westchester County? We also work very closely. We have a municipal call every month that started out of COVID as well with all of the different local officials, so we can share information from the county level and we hear concerns that come back from the municipal level. And we think that's a good dialogue for things to have. Looking over these 7 years, there's no question that the single most focused part of our tenure was dealing with COVID. The COVID outbreak, which happened not quite 5 years ago, began as a rumor of something happening over in Wuhan, China, and within a month and a half, we've had documented cases in New Rochelle and elsewhere in the county. We went through that period of time and we tried to show steady, transparent communications, and we went through the period of time where we had to test people and we had to develop vaccination sites that followed the identification of a vaccine to deal with this. We had emergency child care responsibilities for essential workers. We had 22 remote learning centers for working parents in those moments when schools were shut down and parents still had to go to work. We had a STEAM camp for children of county and essential workers. We maintained our public facilities and recreations throughout this, and we knew that there were people that could not go to certain types of events. They were shut down by the state, but we still provided that which the county could provide in our parks and recreation. You could still golf in this county, and you could still go out and enjoy a walk in the woods, all of which were very helpful. We were involved in this food distribution program for those families that were in need, and we had a public dashboard with information. I followed that dashboard religiously for the better part of 3 years after the vaccination year for 1 year, just to see what trend lines were. We did all of those things and we got through the pandemic. We lost a few thousand of our neighbors, and those were terrible losses, people that we knew, people we loved, family members. But we made sure that that did not become an overwhelming number of people lost during this. And we got through it. We got through it together. And we think that was probably the single most important part of what we had to do. Most people ask us about our financial policies. We have worked very hard to keep property taxes in a reasonable place. We went through 4 years, fiscal year 2020, 21, and 22, and 23, 4 years where we reduced the overall property tax levy for the general fund. 4 years of reducing tax. That has not happened in recent memory. And then the next 2 years, fiscal year 24, the one we're under now, and fiscal year 25, the budget we just approved, we froze the property tax levy. And in a world where you pay taxes, you pay maybe 17%, maybe as much as 20% to the county. The larger portion you pay is to your local school district, and then your local municipality, city, town, village account for the rest. But we were able to keep that county piece as flat as we could over the course of 6 years, and that's not easy. There's questions about special districts. Special districts were held below for a number of years. We've had to start to increase them a little bit, but they're a very small amount of money as it affects you. The general fund is the main event. If you pay $3,000 a year in the general fund, and that general fund doesn't rise, then that is to your tax benefit. And we did that throughout the course of this whole tenure that we have. Back in 2020, when we had the problems with COVID, we allowed for a delayed tax payment to the county so that those who face COVID hardship would be able to have a better opportunity to deal with the problems they've had. And we think that that kind of tax policy made sense and was important for the people of Westchester County. We've done a number of efforts to deal with the concerns about public safety in our county. We've seen a reduction in the amount of violent crime when you compare 2017, the year before we took office, to where we are today. Violent crime, murders, rape, arson, serious crimes are down today compared to what they were before. There are incidents of crime, but they are lesser today than before. And many times when we do see incidents of those things, they fall into types of crimes, domestic violence crimes, that are very, very hard for those of us in the outside world, the police, to be able to anticipate and stop before they happen. But the concerns that we have over random crime, street crime, have been met by fully funding the police and working in harmony with our local police departments to make those things initiative. We've also done things like expand our police board to diversify the membership and to have them more involved in outreach to the citizens' communities. We put together Citizens Advisory Board for our corrections department and our probation department as companion efforts to our police department. We enacted a ban the box on employment applications, so those people that had served their debt to society would not have to have that become a permanent fixture in their ability to get jobs. We did something very important in the criminal justice area. We completely rebuilt the New Rochelle Family Court in the city of New Rochelle. It was on North Avenue, now it's on Garden Street, a major improvement for those people that access that court. Had we not done that, that court would have been absorbed into White Plains, and residents of Mount Vernon, Pelham, and New Rochelle that needed access to the court would have to come to White Plains to have that done, and we resolved that issue. We've earned recognition for our corrections department programs and services, and we've received funding across the board in all these areas. And we established our Police Reform and Reinvention Task Force. This was an outgrowth of the incident that happened almost 5 years ago with George Floyd. Recommendations were made by this group. We've implemented the vast majority of them, particularly the mental health crisis response teams that are now empaneled in 8 locations around the county, so that we can have a mental health response alongside of a police response and de-escalate something before it turns into a tragedy. We've had excellent success in all of those different areas. We have put our emphasis on environmental achievement. Probably the single most important thing is that we've transitioned our B-line bus system, 300-plus buses, from diesel-powered to hybrid electric and electric buses. And that cleans the environment because you don't have the same diesel fumes that are exhausted when you're at a bus stop and the bus pulls away. And it also means we rely on fossil fuels to a much lower degree, and that's a very important combination of things. And we were able to accomplish that with the help of federal funds. I want to thank former members of Congress, Elliot Engel and Nita Lowey. They were both essential people in providing resources for that effort. We've also advanced the infrastructure for electrical vehicle charging stations. We have put EV charging stations on county-owned properties in a number of different places. We've done it for our workforce and our electrified vehicle inventory and our fleet. And we also put together grant programs so that local governments that wanted to expand EV charging stations could get county assistance in being able to do that. We've worked with those local communities for food waste recycling programs. There's much more food waste recycling going on now than ever before. And we've advanced our own countywide recycling program into textiles and other issues. We created Compost Ed, a site on our Valhalla campus that both does a certain amount of composting and shows a way for communities and individuals on how they too can compost more and reduce the amount of things that wind up in the waste stream. We partnered with the city of White Plains on that very topic over that time. And we've established solar energy collection at a number of different county locations. We've been involved in urban development. We restored funding for the Urban Youth Program. We reintroduced the Community Development Block Grant Urban County Consortium Program. It had disappeared in Westchester County for almost a decade, and we were able to reinstitute it, and that is a way to tap into federal funds for local communities so they can do good things with them, from Elmsford to Yorktown to Portchester and all of the different communities that are too small to have their own CDBG programs. The major cities do. They operate on their own calendar, but we needed to step in and combine the efforts on behalf of the rest of the communities. We were able to do that. It may seem like ancient history now, but in 2020, we had a new census done. And for the first time, the county got involved in helping the census get a maximum count, and we showed that we broke 1 million people in population. We knew they were there, but they were missed in prior counts, and we helped get that count as accurate as we could as part of the efforts that we did. We've done a strong job in economic development. Westchester County bounced back from COVID better than any of our neighboring counties did. You see that in the growth of a host of different businesses that are here. We have had for a long time major U.S. corporations headquartered here, IBM, PepsiCo, MasterCard, but we've also seen a number of smaller businesses expand, and a lot of the innovative programs that we have, Bridget Gibbons, Deb Novick, and the economic development team have done a great job of focusing on some of the smaller organizations and helping incentive them, including getting them through COVID during that difficult time where there wasn't funding available for smaller organizations. Sherry Rosen Asher of our team has done an excellent job. The first time we've ever had a liaison to local chambers of commerce, the little downtown community groups that get together to improve the business climate in Briarcliff and Larchmont and Harrison and every one of these communities. And we put our shoulder to the wheel to make that happen. Our IDA, Industrial Development Agency, which assisted managing Mount Vernon's IDA when they went through a very difficult time, provides assistance for both large organizations, expansions of both Regeneron and Tarrytown and Morgan in Harrison were aided by IDA financing, which the county was responsible for, and then also Local Development Corporation incentivization, LDC, and that helps many of the nonprofit organizations. The Westchester Medical Center was one that benefited from LDC financing. We've donated on long-term lease a portion of 80 acres of land in the Valhalla Reservation area to try to help develop the North 80 parcel, which would involve biotech complex. It's been tough going because of what COVID did, but it's still there as a possible economic development effort. And we think all of these things have helped us really project a solid reputation to the business community, where the Westchester County Association, the Business Council of Westchester, sees government not as an impediment to economic development and growth, but rather a partner for doing that. And I think that's also part of what we see in our overall results in terms of revenues that have come in. As we have expanded our economic development, we've seen a rise in revenues, and that's allowed us to maintain that property tax revenue at a flat level and slightly down. We have put time and energy and effort in to fix things that were broken here in this county. When we came into office, we saw that there was a tremendous amount of capital needs, and we put time and energy into doing that. The Sprain Ridge Pool Complex on Jackson Avenue in Yonkers on the border of Greenburgh was empty for 7 years. And the two pools over there, we made sure that both of them were renovated and got back into business. And now we've had 6 straight summers of them providing recreation for children in that area. And we were able to get that project done. We were able to help the rebuilding of Memorial Field. It had been a showplace in Mount Vernon and then for 12 years lay fallow. There was a commitment to do that, county and the city together. It hadn't manifested itself. We came in and we got it done. And that was important to me. I got my high school diploma on that field as a graduate of Mount Vernon High School. I was very proud the day that we cut that ribbon. That was a good sign of our completion. But it wasn't the only place where we saved efforts. We saved the Washington headquarters Miller House on Virginia Road in North White Plains, town of North Castle, which is on the verge of collapse. There was a blue tarp over it and debate over what to do with this historic site. This site is supposed to be where General George Washington stayed during the Battle of White Plains, and we didn't want to lose that element of our history. So not only were we able to renovate the building itself, but we were able to add a building there so that we can have programs and services there. Now that has become part of our historic assets that we have in Westchester County, many of them, and we hope that more of them will be able to grow in the future. We did things that were very one-off at the time, and it's hard to remember that they were important at the time. It was important for us to bring Section 1 high school basketball back into the county center. It had been out of the county center for a couple of years. We worked very hard to bring them back in. That is the mecca for high school basketball. Then we lost it for a year or two with COVID, then we got them back, and that was important. It was important that we try to work on stopping bridge strikes on the Hutchinson River Parkway. We put time and energy and effort in with the state, which controls the road, to reduce bridge strikes at the King Street Bridge in Rye Brook. Those strikes are down dramatically over the course of the last few years. We have other bridges that are still a problem, but we have to work on those, but we made some effort there. You may remember the state of Connecticut had plans to add toll booths on I-684, in that portion of I-684 between the airport and Armonk, where we actually cross into the state of Connecticut. They thought, for their purposes, it was a good revenue idea to put the toll booths up, but we went to bat, organized the effort to lobby against it, and that was something that did not happen. We renovated the Tarrytown Sleepy Hollow Lighthouse at Kingsland Point Park, a beautiful, iconic facility that had seen better days and was basically inoperative and unusable. And we put the money, the time, and the effort to fix that. And we fixed the Bronx River Parkway pathway. We created a walking path alongside Playland Parkway in Rye. We reinstituted the household cleanup days that we have around the county, where you can take things that should not be put into a garbage bag or flushed down into the toilet. You have to dispose of them in an environmentally sensitive way, and we've restored those days so you can go onto the calendar and bring them once a year to a site nearby you and get them disposed of in a proper fashion. And our Department of Environmental Facility did that, and they've done an excellent job. We reinvigorated Playland Park for the first few years that we had management responsibility for it. We own it. By prior contract, an outside organization has been managing it for the last few years, but the capital improvements at Playland are all county money that we've gone into the improvement in the colonnades and the bathrooms that were part of that. We've done legislation alongside the Board of Legislators. They've initiated things that represented step forwards. They banned salary history to prevent wage discrimination on people. You can't ask for what a prior salary was so that you can customize what you're going to offer a candidate based on what their past history is. We banned exotic animals and gun shows at Westchester County Center. We passed the Truthful Disclosure Act, and I signed all of these things into law. Credit the legislature for their action, in which candidates for county office must submit by date specific accurate information about their education, their employment, and their military history. We saw the case of George Santos, who served briefly in Congress, and he did so on a rather bogus set of accomplishments that were not ferreted out because there was no objective way to find that. Well, we found an objective way to do that. And we've also advanced other environmental legislation that have been passed and put into law. There's so many other things that are worth mentioning, but I think it's more important to just look at sort of a closing sense of things. I've always believed, from growing up in one part of the county, living most of my adult life in another part of the county, that we need to reach out and connect with people on an ongoing basis. It's not enough to do certain things and assume that they're going to find it. Media outlets have changed over the years. More people get their news and information from their cell phone and the internet, and that's unvetted news. And it doesn't jump out at you as something that's important in Westchester County unless it becomes part of a national narrative. And usually those are the problem stories, not the stories where we're working hard and doing good. So we've tried very hard to make that connection. I know I have, Ken Jenkins has, by being out in the community and meeting people wherever we go. We have not had a perfect 7 years. As I prepare to leave office, there are things that are undone that will be left to my successor and to the Board of Legislators to accomplish this. But I think we've shown an honest effort to do those things and to do them for the right reasons. I spoke last week about compensation for the county executive, and I mentioned a week ago, and I'll re-mention it for today. For my purposes, I did not raise my salary a dime during my 7 years in this position. I made it a point to take names of elected officials, primarily the county executive, off all the unnecessary signage around the county in front of a park, on the county center, so you don't see entering Westchester County and then the name of the county executive on it. That stuff is ended not by executive order and then now by law. We also made it a point, because I do believe in this, to have strict term limits for the county executive. A county executive can serve 8 years on 2 4-year terms, but not unlimited amount of terms. And I think that's a good way to show a check and a balance. I'm an executive, I've been a legislator, and you want that balance between those two branches. We've had good working relationship with the Board of Legislators. I want to thank and compliment Vedant Gashi, the current chair of the Board of Legislators, Catherine Borgia, who is his predecessor, Ben Boykin, who preceded Catherine, and very briefly with Mike Kaplowitz, who served as chairman of the board. All of them as chairs, both the majority and the minority leaders, the Democrats and the Republicans of the board, I consider friends. We talk informally as well as formally about these issues. I hope to bring some of that relationship to where I'm heading, for which it's in very short supply. But I do think that to the greater extent, even when we disagree on issues, there is a common commitment to try to make this county the best possible county that it can be. Westchester County is great regardless of its government. I've said many times before, I asked my dad when I was a kid, why did he move from Brooklyn to come up to Westchester County? And he said 2 reasons. He said, number 1, it's near New York City. Number 2, it's not New York City. And in those 2 things summarizes not just my economic development plan, but everything that makes Westchester what it is. And it starts out a beautiful river to the west, Long Island Sound to the east, the reservoirs that create the effect of lakes in the north central part of the county, all of the beautiful small town, downtown areas from Armonk to Briarcliff Manor and Hastings, the river towns and the Sound Shore communities, and even our big cities, the architecture of Peekskill, the small town feel of the city of Rye, on and on and on. This is a wonderful county regardless of its government. But those of us who have made a decision to move into the government, we've gone to you asking for your support. You've given us the support. That is how we get in office, by your votes and your commitment, that we're committed to trying to make some things happen. I've had a great opportunity for these 7 years to do those things, and I thank you for it. As I said, I'll have some more detailed farewell remarks a week from today when I'm addressing in the Board of Legislators chamber. But let me just say thank you. I want to say thank you to my executive team, Ken Jenkins, Deputy County Executive Joan McDonald, an outstanding Director of Operations, Emily Saltzman at her side every step of the way, Deputy Director of Operations, to Catherine Chaffee and the world's best communications team. And I want to name not just Catherine, who's done a fabulous job for us, but Carolyn Fortino, who is her deputy director. We have on that team John Borst, who does amazing work behind the camera and with film. We have Chelsea Pagano, Alex Acaro, who work as part of this team. And I'd like to credit some of the past people who have served on that team, Joe Scamato and Lisa Reyes, who went on to do other things in other areas. Steve Bass heads up our intergovernmental team with Copernicus Crane, Harry Brussel. Currently, there are other folks who've served in that capacity. Vic Mallison was our original Director of Intergovernmental Relations. He moved on to head up our tax commission, has done a great job. Andrew Ferris, who served as Chief of Staff. Chris Steers, who's Director of Administration, taking on the real estate functions here. Prior to that, Gary Friedman performed that role. Diane Atkins has brought a tremendous expertise in the area of social services. Bridget Gibbons, aforementioned, and the members of the economic development team that work with her, including Corazon Pineda and Rosa Ramon. We have the benefit, I mentioned already, of Deb Novick and Shari Rosen-Asher. Martha Lopez is part of that team overall, and we have Roz Breedy, who works there in support capacity as well. Crystal Collins has connected with our faith-based group organization. I've had the benefit of Pete Lauren, who served with me in my years in the state legislature, also with us here to perform important functions. And then over the course of time, people who are right and left hands, Tracy Thompson Smith, who's with us, Diana Toledo, who works directly with the Deputy County Executive. There's so many people, all of the commissioners, most of whom served under the prior administration, and we kept them because we thought that was the right thing to do, and it's proven to be a wise decision. And if you notice how many of our key people have stayed with us over time, people that I inherited, that we knew could do a great job under this administration, and then bringing in talented people from other places to come in and to do that job. All of these things are part of a teamwork. Probably unfairly, I get more personal credit for it because I'm the person that goes before the camera, but I know well how all of these people have worked so hard and dedicated. We haven't succeeded at everything. There's undone business. But at some point in time, as cynical as we are about government, as cynical as we are about politicians and elected officials, you have to be able to recognize when things go well, when things are accomplishments. The newspaper won't credit you because they're not in the business of doing that. They're in the business of telling you what's wrong, and that's what's going to attract your attention. But for you, the individual citizen, you need to know that this county is on the right track, has been on the right track. We've negotiated all the union contracts. There's still a couple we're working on now, but we've made progress in those areas. We've made progress in almost every area of negotiation. We've had a terrific law department under the direction of John Nona, who's represented us well. I could go on and on about all the different people that have contributed to this. But again, I thank you for this opportunity. There'll be other opportunities for me to speak to you in a different context, in a different setting than this. But I deeply appreciate your attention, and I look forward to working with you for the next few days in this position and for the days to come. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon.